Well, hello everyone, and happy Independence Day. Uh, Last time I tried this, the video cut out, but doesn't matter. Anyways, Independence Day. I've recycled the same piece over and over on the blog. I still love it. I think it's one of my best works, but it's one of my best thoughts. It's basically that the United States is more of an idea than it is a group of people or a piece of land or anything else. It's a set of ideas. And ideas can change, ideas can evolve. If there's one thing that the founding fathers of this nation tried to take into account but failed to appreciate in all of its glory, it's the idea that change has to be accounted for. I mean, they wanted to have a flexible system that allowed things to evolve and adapt. They didn't want to be rigid and all that. But I don't think they had the slightest idea how much progress would define the history of the nation, in all of its glory and all of its horror at the same time. And progress is often very slow. I, I think that to talk about progress is to talk about what it means to be an American. I mean, second to the basic catechism, which is what I suppose I need to start with, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that everyone is created equal, and that everyone is endowed with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Pursuit of happiness. Yeah. Life, sure. Liberty, I have trouble defining that, but we've got a pretty good idea. Pursuit of happiness? Pursuit. Not actual happiness. It's not quite like Ode an die Freude, the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which is more about the concept of happiness rather than being happy. Yeah, Enlightenment era was a little weird, but anyway, um, all of that aside, we've progressed since then. And I think that there are really two views of progress, or change. Let's put it this way. There are two views of change in this world, because change is the one constant, plus ça change after all. Um, if you're a progressive, if you really believe that things always get better, then change is graphed on a line. If you're a conservative, you think things go in cycles, and you graph things in kind of a sine wave. I find that both are true, that there's some kind of steady jump up, basically add the two of them together, and you get a curve that looks like rapid jumps and then stagnation, then rapid jumps and then stagnation. It takes time to digest really disruptive new ideas. And so everything kind of comes in waves, but they're big waves. And they are moving towards a certain direction. Now, history is always written by the victors. Therefore, good always triumphs over evil, pretty much by definition, right? I know that that's a bit cynical, but it's true. Um, that's the way things have always gone, and it comes in these great arching conflicts of basically y equals sine x plus x. Um, so it begs the question as to where we are today, socially, economically, whatever. Now, I haven't been writing at all lately for the blog, and the reason is very simple. I'm getting a very strong sense of refinement of what it is that we're in the middle of. And one of the questions I had, because of my naturally conservative streak, I've had this for many years, are we at a radical changing point in history, or are we just sort of in, one of those normal waves that just sort of keeps on keeping on one way or the other? And I'm now convinced that we are indeed in the beginning, the genesis of something that's going to be very important. That this is one of those times that people are going to look back on and say, what the hell were you doing? What were you thinking? And the people who come up with the right answer will be regarded as heroes, even if they aren't in our own time. And there will be certain small actions which take place today that will seem much more significant in the future. So that's the process of writing history and showing that good always triumphs over evil, etc., and all that. The path of progress is always much more obvious in hindsight, isn't it? So where are we really? What I'm working on with the company I work for is basically changing how people work, how people find jobs, how they perform the work, how talent finds opportunity is kind of the catchphrase we have. And honestly, there's nothing more important. There is no question in my mind that what I've been saying for the last roughly 2 years is correct, that there is an economy of people. 3 years. Um, the economy of people is based on the simple fact that money is cheap, that there's plenty of money. We have devised systems that are very efficient at raising capital, and that if you have a good idea and a little bit of structure and some good connections, you will be able to find the capital necessary to get that idea off the ground. You'll be able to get your runway together. Okay? The problem is finding talent. And that is the tricky bit. So, economics is all about managing shortages. So, what's in short supply? No shortage of ideas, no shortage of money. Yeah, you see, that's the economy of people in the most basic economic terms. So, how does that get back to all this fancy talk about the United States and change and all that? Well, you want to talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You're talking about what? Basic human rights that are inalienable to us. Those are harder to come by in practice than they are in theory, right? You need systems in place that protect them. You need a reality that values human contribution. Guess what? That's the economy of people. I mean, we live in a time where talent is in short supply. Therefore, the skills, the drive, the ambition, all of those things that make up talent are what we need more of. We need more people. There are many, many ways to look at this. Now, I've said many times that the greatest resource of this or any other nation on this planet is its people. And in fact, that the process of becoming a developing nation from an undeveloped one is the process of realizing this simple fact that they aren't just a bunch of mouths to feed or a revolution waiting to happen, but they are indeed the greatest resource. And the development of that resource is the future of the nation. That's true for developed nations too. If we've learned one thing from Trump followers is that they feel like they're being disposed of. They feel useless. And they don't like it. They lash out. Yes, many of them are coming from a position of privilege, but think about it. The feeling of being useless and disposed of is especially harsh when you have been taught all your life that you're really kind of up here, or your experience doesn't have hardship really worked into it in the same social way that people who are non-white and non-male might have. So they lash out, and they lash out from, position of authority or privilege that doesn't always resonate well, but they have a point. When people feel like they've been disposed of in this country, something has gone horribly wrong. Now, minority groups, people who are non-male and non-white, have grown up in many cases with the understanding that they are disposable and to be disposed of. It's still not right. None of this is right. All of this is a waste of our greatest resource. And here's the thing. I think we're going to start realizing that. I think we are going to turn the corner soon on this issue. Yes, the development of talent is about much, much more than just people. I mean, they have to know things. They have to know what's important. They have to have experience. They have to have opportunity, right? There has to be a level playing field where they can be a part of the system. They have to believe that they are part of the system to invest all that time and energy in it. I mean, even if you did create a system that was perfectly fair and just, how many people would believe it was true and actually, go for it, right? I mean, if you've been screwed for hundreds of years, starting with the moment that your ancestors were brought here in chains on a boat, are you going to believe that this time we mean it, right? There are a lot of issues here. But if we turn this corner, okay, we have defined the American experience in new terms. And I think we're going to do it this time. And what's more important is that it's all around the world. It's not just the United States, of course. In fact, developing nations are teaching us a little bit about what life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness means. It's what I often call the Beatles effect. You know, rock and roll was killed off in this country. It was sanitized, corporatized. It was too Negro, and they had to change that. And so rock and roll very much died. But it went out around the world from the United States. And when it came back to us, when that BOAC plane landed in New York with the Beatles on it, it came back. But it was different. It had changed. So I call this the Beatles effect. That which starts in the United States, goes out and comes around, resonates in a wave form, coming back to us when we have forgotten it the most. And I do fear that we have forgotten what made this country great. We forget it far too easily. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, in decreasing order of ability to define them. So where does that leave us? Well, I think that in practical terms, and ultimately it is all about the ability to deliver those high ideas. In practical terms, I think that things are indeed about to change very dramatically. I think that the great ideas of the United States have rippled through the world. I think that we all understand that progress is one step at a time. Although sometimes you take a lot of steps and then stand around and wonder where the hell you are for a while before you take a bunch more. That's kind of what's happening. And the United States is not necessarily leading it right now. Maybe we won't lead it, or maybe we will pick up on this, I don't know. But change is coming. Change is here. Progress is definable. And you know what? I do believe that the path of progress is one step at a time, there is a wheel of Dharma, as it were. You can't just skip ahead to enlightenment, right? We're learning things. We're getting there. And one of the project I'm working on right now, I think is going to give this a lot of definition, a lot of ways of moving forward dramatically. What brought me here. So anyways, happy Independence Day. I hope we can all celebrate what's good and what's just, not just the winners and losers. And look forward to a better future, because really, as we look back in American history, there is one thing we can say for sure. If you spend time looking backwards, looking at all of those who came before us, all of those who made all of the progress we had possible, you'll see one thing, and that's that they are all staring back at us, because they always looked to the future. So when we look back, they are staring at us, and they are looking at us right now asking, so what are you going to do? What the hell are you looking back for? Because they weren't. Okay? Happy Independence Day to everybody. Let's make all of this real. Make these high ideas more real all the time. I'll see everybody.